Hello, my name is Ron Slee. I'm the managing director of Learning Without Scars. We're putting this film clip together to give you a better understanding or an easier way to understand what we do at Learning Without Scars. We're an employee development training business for people in the parts and service side of the business. We cover parts departments, service departments, product support, sales force, parts and service marketing, and most of the job functions that are in there. We also have two assessments for mechanics. Everything that we do is trying to help the employee get better at what they do. What we'd like to say is we're trying to help the employees identify their potential and then give them learning opportunities to achieve it. Everything starts from an assessment. I used to teach university years ago, and I'm used to tests and quizzes to get a track on where the employee is, where the student is in their learning path. So with the assessments, each of which is 90 questions, multiple choice, the student will be given a score. Now, you might have noticed we're a government-approved education provider from IACET, the International Accrediting for Continuous Education and Training worldwide. We're the only ones in this industry that have that certification. That's quite an honor. It's also quite a responsibility because every single one of our classes earns continuing education units, which when you go to your university, junior college, vocational school, etc., will count as class credits, so that your learning on Learning Without Scars is applicable across universities all around the world, vocational schools, technical schools, anybody involved in education. This is obviously adult education. We had a client that we'd been working with for a long time. We've been doing training in this industry since the 1990s. We started with Quest Learning Centers when everybody, the OEMs and the associations, walked away from training because it was too expensive. We walked in. And so we've been doing this for 35 or 38 years. Up until recently, it's been front of the class type of teaching, 2-day classes that we split into 4-hour segments. And each of those 4 hours was split up into 2-hour classes, so that each 2 days generated 8 different classes. And we ran 3 years consecutively, level 1, 2, 3, what we called What It Looks Like When It's Right, Reaching Market Potential, and The Best You Can Possibly Be, Market Penetration. These things then, what those 24 classes morphed when we went online. We created, out of those 2-hour sections, we created 3- and 4-hour classes. Each class starts with a reading list. Then we do a pretest so that we can get a measure of the skills and knowledge of the individual before they start. Then we have videos that consist of slides with text on them, audio tracks matching the slides, or at least talking to the same subject. The audio track is a much more comprehensive statement than what is written on the slide. And we embed film clips. Those videos run 8 to 12 minutes, and at the end of it, there's a quiz. What they found in teaching and education is that if you can break learning up into shorter increments, 10 minutes, for instance, the learning and the retention goes up by as much as 50%. And if you think about it, it makes sense. What happens to us is the first time that a quiz comes out, the student might get between 1/3 and 1/2 right. The second time the quiz comes out, they start recognizing, oh my, there's going to be regular quizzes here. And in the second one, they get between 2/3 and 3/4. And the third quiz on, they're well over 90% as a group. So you can see, we have evidence as well, but you can see that the learning progression is better when we break this thing up. So we have, let's say, 10 of those videos through the course of a class, at the end of which there's a 20-question assessment. And in order to pass, if you will, and get out and get a certificate, you have to get 80%. So we need you to get 16 out of 20 questions correct. We also have noticed some interesting criteria in that side. Individuals who've been doing the job for 10 or 20 or 30 years, and their boss says, well, wait a second, we'd like you to take this class. They kind of, well, I know that. So they skip through everything and go to the final assessment, and they don't get 80%. Oh, darn. So they go back to the beginning. And in the family, our family, we have a little expression. We say, oh, you're skimming and scanning. You're not really paying attention. You're not really learning. You're just, you're giving it a chance. Well, they go through that, and some of them succeed, but the majority of them don't get the 80%. Now, you only have 2 chances before we block you off, and you have to call us. We'll open you up again. And then the student gets back on the class and they pay attention this time, and invariably they get the 80% and move on. And noticeably, nobody goes through that a second time. So they learn their lesson. They know this is serious. They know the company's paying attention, and away you go. So what we do then is we start with assessments, and we have 18 of them. That assessment, the student will get a score. We get a report once a week, and we send the report back to your company so that you know the scores and the progress that every employee of yours has. And then from that score, we can individualize the learning. There are gaps. We know we've had over 20,000 students take classes, and we have a pretty good understanding of what goes on. In the education community, the classifications for these different groups are developing for the 0 to 50%, beginning 51 to 75%, intermediate 76 to 90%, and advanced 91 to 100%. Most of the people that are taking these classes that have been working in the industry for a long time, we've got maybe 8 to 10% of the people that get over 90%. So these are pretty rigorous exams, assessments. From that assessment, then, we have classes that are assigned for each of those score levels. So if you took a parts counter and telephone sales class and you got 68%, that's the beginning level. When you come into the classes, you click on the job function and you will have the opportunity to click on beginning. There, you'll be exposed to the 8 different classes that we recommend that you take. You can select which ones you think are most important. We offer to the dealers an implementation program so that when you have any interest of it, what we do is we turn around and we send you by email that implementation program, which is based on what the scores are of the students. Same type of thing in service. You take the work order process class, and whatever your score is, we're going to identify certain classes for you to be taking. We focus primarily on major subjects. We want to concentrate on operations, finance, leadership, selling, marketing, and customer service. What we're trying to do in helping everybody achieve their individual potential is improve the customer service aspect of your business to make your employees more skilled and more sensitive and more empathetic to the customer. That customer satisfaction, that customer loyalty leads to higher market share for your company, which leads to more profitability. That's a thumbnail sketch, if you will, of Learning Without Scars. I hope it's been helpful to you. And I look forward to you being involved with us and getting your employees into a better place. Thanks for your attention, and all the best.